Start.
Hi, this is Retd from Jaipuria Institute of Management, Jaipur. So today we have with us Anil Swarup, a man who needs no introduction. So we'll have a little conversation with him. So I welcome you, sir, to the institute, and many congratulations to you on your book. So starting off, like we know the books that you have authored. So it's predominantly focused on civil servants. So what were your thought process, or the rationale behind writing on such important topics?
First of all, thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure always to visit this institute, so professionally managed and smiling faces around. During my career, I didn't have too many desires. One of the few desires that I had was to write a book.
Great.
Because I was a very avid reader. I still read about 100 books a year. So I thought I should have one of my own. And that actually triggered writing of the first book, Not Just a Civil Servant.
Yeah.
But when I wrote the first book, I enjoyed it so much that I thought, well, I'll write another one and then the other one. Of course, the objective behind writing these books was very different. When I wrote Not Just a Civil Servant, it was an idea to write a book. When I wrote Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, the actual objective was to demonstrate to my colleagues and to the world at large that good work can be done. And there is a value in being ethical.
Correct.
So I wanted to demonstrate that through some personal examples, and that triggered writing of the second book. The third book was written when I was not well last year. And since I was confined to bed most of the time, so in order to spend time in the confinement, I thought I'll write another book to again come up with examples both in the government and the private domain about the good work that is happening. I started a movement called Nexus of Good Post-Retirement. So the idea was to identify good work, understand good work, appreciate good work, and enable its replication and duplication and scaling. And doing that, I thought that I should come up with a book where I can list out and explain some of the good practices, some of the good aspects of the work that is being done by civil servants and non-governmental organizations. So that was my third book, No More a Civil Servant.
Perfect. So in addition to the first question, I have seen the title of the books that you have mentioned is fantastic. It's kind of engaging to the reader. So how did you come up with these titles?
There was an objective behind these titles also.
Correct.
So Not Just a Civil Servant was primarily to demonstrate that a civil servant, as he is normally understood, can be different from the normal understanding of civil servant, going beyond the call of duty, going beyond the traditional understanding of what a civil servant is. So that was the reason why I give the title Not Just a Civil Servant. Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant is based on the dilemmas that a civil servant face. In fact, the book starts with मुख्तसर सी जिंदगी के अजब से अफसाने हैं, यहाँ तीर भी चलाने हैं, परिंदे भी बचाने हैं. So this is the quintessential dilemma of a civil servant, and that's how the title emerged. The third book was about what I did after retirement. Of course, there are some reflections. So the book was titled No More a Civil Servant because I was not a civil servant, and whatever I have written is not as a civil servant.
Of course. That's great, sir. So, sir, basically at Jaipuria we have this concept wherein the institute encourages the students to read books, rather I'll say travel through books. And as you already mentioned that you were an avid reader, so if you would suggest some of your must-reads that students should read, because I too love reading books, so I have suggestions from you.
My books apart from the ones that I have written?
Yeah, of course. That too, of course, we'll be reading for sure.
I would suggest students to read the following books.
Okay.
One, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma.
Yes, great book.
The other, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Of course, great, yeah.
The third is The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And
Absolutely.
the fourth, The Last Lecture by Rondi Posh.
Great.
So these are the four books that I would suggest. There are many other books. I have a whole list of books that I enjoyed reading. But for personality development, for positive attitude, I think these books will really help.
I believe everybody must have noted these books, and we will be rushing to library to read these books. I have one personal question, like all through years, through your career. So what is one suggestion that you would like to give to the younger self, maybe to your younger self, or to the younger generation probably?
There is no one on this earth who hasn't failed or committed mistakes.
Of course, great.
So treat it as a natural occurrence.
Great.
And if you do that, you will develop a lot of confidence. Many of our apprehensions are born out of our apprehension that you might commit a mistake, that you might fail. So once you understand that everyone does fail, everyone does commit a mistake, you will not be apprehensive of that and learn from your mistake. Don't live in those mistakes.
Of course. Thank you so much, sir. So it was a great conversation with sir. and I really hope that books does well, and it will do well, and I'll be surely reading the book. So thank you so much for giving your time to us.
Thank you very much.
And it's really, I'm really grateful that you came here and spent time with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. God bless you.